Hello, I'm Dan Miller. Welcome to historicalsolutions.com, to my website, and to my second video. I got a great response to the first one, so here we are again. Today I'd like to take 5 minutes or so, and again, I know you're busy, but 5 minutes or so to talk with you about leadership and a person I think you'll like, Harry Truman. In this bag, in fact, are the things that we're going to discuss. 4 humble items. It's interesting to me that you can reduce somebody's leadership or have it expressed at least in some great way in the things that are in a bag like this, but I think you can. There are 4 humble items in this bag from the leadership experience of Harry Truman. I'm just going to reach in and pick them out at random and we'll see where we go. Item number 1. Obviously, is a book. It's by Washington Irving. It's a biography of George Washington. Harry Truman was an avid, fanatical, obsessive almost reader. He loved to read, almost more than anything else. Harry Truman taught himself over the course of his life. He went to school, but his greatest schoolhouse, his greatest classroom were the books that he read year in and year in, year in and year out, day in and day out, and all the rest. He particularly liked history and biography, and he liked the classical works of literature. By the way, one thing you might not know is Harry Truman was the last American president to not go to college. I think that's an interesting fact about his life and his leadership. Let's go to item number 2. A CD. I know. There's no CDs in the 1940s and 50s and the other periods of time of Truman's life. What I'm illustrating here is the music. This is Mozart, by the way. Harry Truman was a very accomplished musician, a very skilled pianist. From earliest ages, his father and mother encouraged him to take on an instrument and make it his own, and he chose the piano and developed a lifelong love for piano playing and piano music, and music generally. My point on this is this, which is a lot of times we say, what you see is what you get, and we think of that as a good thing when we say it or hear it, and I understand why, but sometimes what you see is not what you get. And in the case of leadership, the depth beneath the man or woman, inside the man or woman as the leader, that can say a lot more and mean a lot more than what you see on the surface. If you look at Harry Truman, even if you met him a few times, you might not think that this was an accomplished musician whose favorite composer was Chopin, which in fact it was. But if you got to know him a little bit more, you would understand that the man had real depth. That's an important point. The music illustrates the depth of this particular leader. Let's go to item number 3. All right, we have a pack of playing cards, or a deck of playing cards. Truman was he's avid about a lot of things, I guess, isn't he? He was an avid poker player. He loved to play poker. From a young man all the way down to the time of his death, he enjoyed a poker game quite a bit as the days rolled by. It's important for Truman's leadership in a couple of ways. One is the nature of poker very much appealed to Truman. He was a risk taker. And so the idea of running a risk and a bluff or trying to perceive somebody else's bluff that they're trying to run and all the rest, those elements greatly appealed to Truman in his leisure time, in his off time. Second thing is he loved the camaraderie of the poker table. He loved hanging around with the guys, 4 or 5 guys, playing poker all night long. And it was the give and take, the back and forth between he and his friends that he really relished as much as the game itself. Truman's leisure time activities illustrated his love of people, and I think that's what you should take away from the illustration of the deck of playing cards. Last item. Here we go. Pair of glasses. These happen to be my glasses, actually. Harry Truman. You've probably never seen a picture of Harry Truman, or seldom seen a picture of Harry Truman, without eyeglasses on. He was first diagnosed as having flat eyeballs, as the doctor called it, at age 6. And from that point on, the rest of his life, he wore some kind of eyeglasses. You may see his, they're a lot larger, thicker than these. I think these illustrate Truman's vision, but I also think they illustrate a particular part of vision, because we hear vision a lot when you talk about leadership, and sometimes it loses the meaning. Truman's eyeglasses illustrate his ability to see things as they are. He could see facts on the ground clearly, plainly, and without embellishing them or hoping that they were something that they weren't. And he dealt with those facts in any given situation to the best of his ability. You might not agree with the decisions that he made based on the facts, but he saw the facts plainly. And that's a kind of vision. And sometimes I think that when we talk about vision in leadership, we talk about things that are far away, seen over the horizon, and other such things. And we forget that vision can also mean seeing things for exactly what they are. These are the 4 items in Truman's little bag here, it seems to me. A deck of playing cards, music, a book, and eyeglasses. Now, I've got 2 questions for you. Question number 1 is, what would be in your bag? What would be your 4 humble items that you think illustrate a lot about your leadership? I think that's a good question to ask yourself. Probably would change perhaps over time. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. But ask yourself what would go in your bag. The second question is a little harder, and that is, what do you think someone would answer about you and your 4 items in the bag, who was, let's say, your husband or wife, or your closest friend, or a family member? What would they say you should put in the bag as illustrations of your leadership, of your life to a degree? Harder version of this same question is, what would somebody who has clashed with you, who has disagreed with you, say that you should put in the bag? That's, I tremble with the thought of those people who clashed or disagreed with me and what they'd say. But I think that's a worthwhile question or twist to put on this question as well. What would you put in it yourself, and what would others say you should put in it? And then it's interesting to think about, how do those things match up? Is there a gap between them? Probably would be, but how long or how large is the gap? Finally, I encourage you to go to the website, or go elsewhere on the website, to the Commonplace book, and you'll see some further reflections that I've written down in just bullet form. Won't take you long to read them. Some further reflections about Truman and leadership. Let me give you a couple of little tips on it. One is, I make a comment on there regarding the atomic bomb and Truman's decision and his involvement in the use of that weapon. I say very plainly, at least my opinion about that. And the second thing is, I offer a view out, or at least I make the connection for you regarding Truman and the war on terrorism today. So if you get a chance, historicalsolutions.com, go to My Writings, and you'll see the Commonplace book. Click on that, and I think you'll find it from there. Lastly, if you have any topic that you'd like me to consider addressing in these little video sessions, please let me know, either via phone or email, and I'd be very happy to consider and act on it. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. I'm Dan Miller, and you can bank on the fact that I wish you all the best.